What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Bunny Operator here. Today we're going to go over my upcoming plans for the year 2023. Before that, I want to thank you all for sticking with me all this time, as well as helping to grow this channel and communicating with me through my other social media pages such as Instagram and Facebook. This entire social media project has been a labor of love, and I truly enjoy chatting with all of you whenever you communicate with me. I've had the opportunity to meet some of you and have really made some legit friendships along the way. Truly from the bottomless pit that I consider my soul, I thank you all, kings and queens. I haven't had time to put out many long format videos towards the end of 2022. The reason is I took a step back to reevaluate my setups and plan out their quote-unquote final formats that I would totally be satisfied with. So for the most part, I've been planning and acquiring the remaining parts needed for those setups. Additionally, I had to prepare for the quote-unquote Chippendales end of year shoot in Vegas hosted by my buddy JD, aka Darth Syphilis, on Instagram. This apparently was an annual event and was my first time attending, so I had to make sure that I showed up. I was able to take out my newly configured 10.3 out and my CMMG 9mm, but like a dumbass, I forgot the 9mm magazines and could not locate a local store in Vegas that had the ARC mags, so we couldn't even run that. I did, however, get to push the 10.3 in full auto, and I will say that I was really surprised at how well the upper ran. Unfortunately, one of my buddies did reach out and says that he wants that upper, and being the good homie that I am, I'm going to give it to him. So there goes that. I do have a very similar setup, which hasn't really been featured on the channel yet. It's probably been teased through my other social medias such as Instagram and Facebook. But basically, it's my ADM4 based 11.5 setup. If you're not familiar, the ADM4 is basically the ADM UIC lower, but without the waffle cuts, if you will. The entire setup is currently with Redacted Concepts, getting a little bit of work done. Basically, I had the lower engraved with my bunny logo. For the most part, that would be my dedicated night gun, essentially. Another setup that hasn't quite made its rounds yet on my channel is my 12.5 mid-length setup based on an ADM UIC lower. I'm still working on the tune of this setup, which is why it hasn't really been featured yet. The barrel essentially started off as a 16-inch mid-length Centurion Arms barrel and was sent to Alex over at Trajectory Arms to cut down to 12.5 mid-length. According to Alex, the gas port was gauged at .079. And since then, I've tried a Veltor A5H2 with it, and it was a little bit sluggish with that. And then I went with an A5H1 after, and it ran perfectly fine until I took it out recently. And it was approximately about 40 degrees outside or so. And well, the gun had repeated failures to feed. I did test different magazines and ammunition out of it and determined that it was likely the buffer weight that was causing the failures to feed in that specific temperature. So even though it was working in warm weather, in cold weather it became more finicky, which is pretty common as far as running softer shooting gas systems like this, that you really have to kind of tune it down. So currently, as of now, I have an A5H0 in there, and we'll be continuing the testing to see if that works out. On to the OG 14.5. If you recall from my previous video on my OG 14.5 setup, I did note that I would probably find GI receivers and swap the barrel from a 14.5 to a 14.7 inch. So I wasn't necessarily stuck with the Surefire Warcomp CTN that's currently on there. And I noted in that video that I didn't necessarily want the additional concussion that comes with the Warcomp series. Well, essentially, I acquired another set of Centurion Arms CM4 GI receivers and a 14.7 mid-length barrel with attached FSB, so game on from here. Both the 12.5 A1 carbine and the 14.5 A2 mid-length, those two setups are in their final forms, basically-ish right now. I was able to acquire discontinued Centurion Arms CMR carbine and mid-length cutout rails directly from Centurion Arms. And they are some of my favorite rails that are out there. Super strong, super sleek looking, and really I like the Centurion Arms panels to begin with, so I had no problem with not having M-LOK. Anyways, the 12.5 A1 received an Aimpoint Micro direct mount made by Roche Manufacturing. I currently have an Aimpoint Comp M5 on there, and so far it's been rock solid. I haven't had any issues. So far, that 12.5 A1 setup is one of my favorite rifles to run currently. The 14.5E2 had a primary arms 1X microprism originally, and it really left me wanting more magnification, as I noted in the video on the A2. And instead of looking for the 3X microprism, I went ahead and jumped straight into mounting an LPVO on top. I ended up using a Steiner P4XI and a D&Z carry handle scope mount. I really do look forward to testing both of these out throughout the year, so stay tuned for those update videos. On to yet another setup that has been teased but hasn't made a full feature on the channel. My 13.9 midlink. This setup originally had an aimpoint T2 paired with a magnifier using A&A Tactical's fast mounts, both for the micro and the magnifiers. I particularly used this setup to compare the aimpoint 3XC, 3X magnifier, the EOTech G33, 3X magnifier, and the EOTech G45, 5X magnifier. More on those in the future. I'm still evaluating them, but at some point I'll put out a video explaining the differences and comparing them for y'all to make your own decisions for yourself. And as noted earlier, sometimes plans change, so this rifle is currently configured for semi-auto precision rifle style shooting. It's currently sporting a Vortex 2-10x32 scope. On top of that, we'll probably throw on some type of RDS, probably an RMR for now, or maybe an SRO with bros on it, or an aimpoint acro. I don't know yet. This style of shooting is a different realm for me, and I'm not really too familiar with it, so I'm still kind of sorting everything out. Y'all remember my original CMMG 9mm radial delayed blowback videos from the early days? I originally put it up against a direct blowback AR. Since then, I've acquired a Centurion Arms imported MKE AP5, or essentially an MP5 clone. And I also had access to a 6-hour MPX as well as a CZ Scorpion, so I did what anyone else would do. I put them all against each other. Basically, the testing was between radio delayed, roller delayed, piston, and direct blowback operating systems. So look forward to that one. My buddies and I had a really fun time shooting it all, and really we spent a lot of 9mm that day. Also expect an individual video out for the AP5 as well as updates to the CMMG setup. That setup has really come full circle and is basically configured as a modern retro Colt SMG, although I can't exactly use Colt mags, but more on that when the video is released later. I received a bunch of new Universal-esque magazine carriers from LAS Concealment, and I look forward to talking about those items. Timney Alpha Part 2, that video will be coming out later, and really a lot has happened since the first video came out. A lot of feedback as well as additional information from other folks within the industry, as well as other people commenting through social media to let me know of their experiences with the Alpha, as well as behind the scenes things that Timney has been doing, such as releasing a firing pin and connector update, then removing it from their website, and now secretly replacing all the faulty Alphas with a new Gen 2 trigger bar that has a dimple on it, but still nothing in the public sphere about their triggers not working. Shield Arms S15 magazines. I really wanted to like these, and they've gone back to warranty twice now, and they are with me now as the third replacement set. But I'm going to test these again, and if there's even one failure, then I'm going to go ahead and reject them. But stay tuned for those. I do need to put them through the paces just to be fair. As far as USPSA and general competition goes, I'll continue to attend matches. Really haven't put out any updates since the last USPSA update, and I have gone to matches since then. I just really haven't had the time to put footage together, because frankly, the experiences I've had were mixed, and I just really didn't feel like there was additional information to put out for y'all. But speaking of competition, let's talk about my Glock 17 and the 26XX project. If y'all remember, my original Glock 17 Gen 3 was retired and replaced with a Glock 17 Gen 5. The reason for that was because that Glock 17 Gen 3 started having frame damage in the magazine release area. So I contacted Peter Roos over at Battlecock Tactical and asked him if that was something that was repairable. Peter recommended that I essentially send my Glock in and do a warranty exchange for the frame. So I did it, and lo and behold, a new frame came in and the process was painless. So I'll do a video on that, really to show you that process for the Glock warranty exchange, as well as show you the Glock 17 Gen 3 frame as it is now. Additionally, after speaking with Peter and looking at some of his 26X custom frame job projects, I thought about what if I paired the shortest and fastest cycling slide of the Glock 26 with the Glock 17 grip for max leverage. Peter said he had never done that before, so I mocked up a sample photo, we both liked it, and thus the Glock 26XX project was born. The frame was completed and is in my possession now. I'm just waiting for a few parts to arrive before putting it all together and fielding it. Now, this will be my primary competition and general range pistol, just to get as much time behind it as possible in order to really see if the configuration really does make a difference in performance. Maybe, maybe not, but that's why we're doing these experiments, to test it out. The dad build project will continue. Unfortunately, I didn't have time last year to film it, and when I tried to, it started raining, and as you know, the dad build project has been a t-shirt, jorts, and New Balance sneakers, which probably didn't work so well in the rain. Dad doesn't like the cold, so I guess he'll be back in spring, so stay tuned for that. As far as Inside the Industry and Other People's Pew, those two video series, they will continue. I do have guests lined up, but unfortunately our schedules were conflicted and we couldn't really get together last year. You can look forward to past guests returning, as well as new future guests such as Henry and Josh of 9 Hole Reviews and Augie Kim of TNVC, and of course some of the followers that decided to come on to the show. It's fair game, folks. DM me if you want to talk about your gear. That's pretty much what it's all about. There's a lot more I have planned for the upcoming year as well as subsequent to that, but this video is already running pretty long, so we'll just have to wait and see what else comes out. In the meantime, check out my previous videos for references to what was discussed in this video. Check out the video description for discount codes from my friends in the industry. I am a code affiliate for LAS Concealment and Slate Black Industries, which is run by the folks over at 9 Hole Reviews. And anything that you acquire using my discount code will help fund my antics. I also have discount codes for A&A Tactical, Revival Defense, and Distaste Apparel. I don't get anything out of those, but it gives you a little bit of price savings and it helps support the good people from those legit shops. As usual, if you have questions or comments, drop them below. Like the video and share with anyone who you think it could help or whoever might like this information. We'll see how this year goes, folks. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching. Bunny Operator signing out.
All right. So how does it feel to be dead?